Hey YouTube world, what up? This is Roland from Get Wheel. This video is all about the driving test report and how it's marked so that when you go to your driving test you have a better understanding of what is going on in the mind of the examiner and maybe some of the things that you need to consider if you're going to be taking your test anytime soon. Driving test report, you can have three types of fault. You can have a driver fault, which would be a minor fault. You can have a serious fault, which is a no-no. You can have a dangerous fault, which is, what the hell am I doing here? So we don't really want to be having a serious or a dangerous fault on a test. That's obvious. Well, hopefully that's obvious. Minor faults, you can pick up 15 and still pass, unless of course they're all in one section, in which case, if it's mirrors, you've got a problem. Or in fact, if it's anywhere, to be honest with you, you've got a problem. So you don't want to be getting loads of minors in one particular area, but if they're spread across the board, that's totally fine, I guess. Although you're getting through by the skin of your teeth. You will sign a declaration for two reasons. Number one, to say that you have been a resident in the UK for at least 185 days in the last 12 months. And the second thing that you'll be signing off is that your car is insured for the test. If you're turning up in a driving school car, this really is not a problem at all because your driving instructor's car will be insured for the test. If you're turning up in your own car, it just needs to be insured. It needs to be insured so that you are legal to take the car out on the road. Section 1 on your driving test report is your eyesight. It's pretty simple. You need to read a number plate at 20 meters. If you can't read a number plate at 20 meters, your test is over. It's finished, man. You're out of there and you haven't even got in the car. So make sure you can read a number plate at 20 meters. If you need glasses or you need contact lenses, make sure you bring them with you. I would imagine that if you're wearing contact lenses, you'd probably be wearing them, but who knows? Section 1B, again, not massively important. This is highway code safety. This section here is only important if you are taking a test in a specialized vehicle. This could be a tractor, it could be a light, heavy goods vehicle, LGV, PVC, PCV. Driving instructors love acronyms, but half the time I can't remember any of them. Anyway, so let's not worry about that if you're taking this test in a car. Section 2 is the controlled stop. It's called a controlled stop. Ultimately, it is an emergency stop, right? But it's not done randomly. It's controlled. You're pulled over to the side of the road and then they will say, okay, we're going to perform an emergency stop. Controlled stop. I want you to bring the car to an immediate and abrupt halt under full control. Always useful. My signal will be blah, blah, blah. Anyway, look, I may do a video on that. Anyway, that's the emergency stop. Then we got a whole bunch of reversing stuff, okay? Now, section 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if I go down to section 8, who knows why they skipped out section 7, but we'll get to section 7 in a minute. All these are reversing maneuvers, okay? Of which section 6, turn the road, is no longer on the test. And section 3 is also no longer on the test, although this is also combined with somebody that would be doing a trailer test. Again, this is not about trailers today, so we're going to leave that one to the side. These are all reversing maneuvers, and in reversing maneuvers, it's pretty simple. You need to be able to A, control the car, and B, keep it safe. So that's how it's marked. In your test sheet, it's going to say control and observation. So you need to make sure that you can do those two things. I will do videos on those so that you guys have a better idea of how to manage any kind of reversing maneuver and go into more detail on the reversing maneuvers if you like, and leave it in the comments below if you want to see something like that, if that would help you to get to where you want to get to. Section 7 is the vehicle checks. Okay, so vehicle checks, this would be your show me, tell me questions. If you get anything wrong within your show me, tell me questions, this will be marked here. You only get asked 2 questions. One will be at the beginning of the test, which is a show me, tell me question. Show me how you would do this or adjust that. And one show me on the move. This will be you controlling something on the move, okay? If you get one or both wrong, you're looking at a minor fault. For each, shall we say 2 minor faults? not great. I would say though, impressions are important, first impressions. So you need to make sure that you do know these things, because if it's the first thing the examiner asks you and you have no idea how to do it, you're going to be on the back foot, probably straight from the start. So I'd get those done, and they're not that difficult. Section 9, taxi wheelchair. For those of you, I think minicab drivers, and again, this is not, I don't know why I'm even talking about this, but basically you need to be able to get a wheelchair in and a wheelchair out, and you need to get your wheelchair passenger. Let's move on, it's not important. Section 10, uncouple or recouple. No, this is not something to do with Love Island. This is, again, trailer. You got to be able to uncouple and couple your trailer. Let's leave that to the side, because that's not really anything to do with you. Precautions before you start the engine. Now, most of your instructors will be telling you to give that gear shift a little wiggle and make sure that your handbrake is on. But precautions before starting the engine would also involve your seating position. Is it adjusted properly? Is your head restraint adjusted properly? Mirrors, everything. This is your cockpit drill, so I would assume that would have been done on the way there. Then we have control. Section 12 is control. Everything related to the control of the vehicle. If it's a manual car, then obviously that would include the gears and the clutch. If it's an automatic car, then you won't have any of those things to worry about, in which case, should be easy for you. So easy. But those of you that are still taking out manual cars, well done. Good for you. Because manual cars is real driving. I got to be honest, I did a video the other day in an automatic car. I totally love automatic cars. I want one. But having a manual license is still useful. I'm thinking of doing a video on whether we should choose to do automatic or manual cars. Please feel free to let me know in the comments below if you want to see that video. But any faults that are related to the control of the vehicle will be in this section here. Moving off from the side of the road, this could also be in traffic. Anytime you've come to a stop and then you move off again, you must move off safely and in control. Safely, if I'm moving off from the side of the road, or you people out there that already know your stuff, I'm guessing that you already know that you should be doing a beautiful 6-point check all the way around yourself before you move off. So again, that would be safely if you're not doing that. Or obviously if you move off and there's a car coming, that wouldn't be safe either. And control is, of course, as it says on the tin, you must be able to control the car when you're moving off. Pretty simple. Use of mirrors. Section 14, use of mirrors for signaling, change of direction, and change of speed. Signaling, I guarantee, any of you that's worth your salt and have gone out and done some training, you already know your center mirror, your left mirror when you're turning left, and your center mirror and your right mirror when you're turning right. You know your mirrors. You know they should be checked in pairs. Those of you that don't know that your mirrors should be checked in pairs, you now do. So, mirrors for signaling is pretty simple. Change of direction, I would hope this is also common sense. Change of speed, again, this is somewhere where occasionally people get faults and they don't even know why. Okay, so maybe you do. Maybe I'm just assuming that you don't know. But if you're slowing down, probably a good idea to know who's right behind you before you do so. And if you're accelerating, you also need to know who's behind you. So that's that new road, new mirrors thing, which I'm sure your instructor's been going on at you about. Every time you enter a new road, and you say new mirrors. Let's get back to this. So new road, new mirrors, that would be change of speed, acceleration, and checking your mirrors before you slow down. Also the anticipation of checking your mirrors before you slow down. Again, anticipation planning, that's a video that probably I will be doing at some point. Section 15 is signals. Was it necessary? Maybe. Correctly, obviously in the right direction, that'd be a good idea. And was it timed properly? Okay. Section 16, clearance to obstructions. Now, the closer I get to an object, what should I be doing with my speed? Slowing down, right? You got it, right? So this is where people sometimes make mistakes. They judge the space, they get through, they haven't hit anything, but they're way too close. They didn't think about, well, what would happen if somebody stepped out or that door opened? So if you're going to get a fault in clearance for obstructions, it's probably because you were driving too fast, too close. And that could also be a pedestrian walking in the street. It could be a cyclist going past a cyclist or whatever, okay? So do think about that. Section 17 is response to signs and signals. So responding to all of these things, if you fail to respond to these things, you're going to pick up faults. And obviously, if it's serious or dangerous, then it could escalate. 18 is use of speed. What does that mean? If you get a fault in this section, section 18, use of speed, it means you are speeding or you are traveling too fast for the road conditions or the weather conditions, okay? So it could be that you are within the speed limit, but you are traveling too fast. If you're going to get a fault for that, it's going to be here. Following distance, section 19, following distances, you're too close to the vehicle in front. What if that car brakes? What's going to happen to you if you're right behind it? And what if you're a sandwich and there's someone right behind you? You're going to be in trouble. Let's not do that. Section 20 is progress. So any of you that have ever asked your instructors whether you can get faults for driving too slow, well, here it is. Progress. I'm going to even circle this. I'm going to put little flashing stars around it. I probably won't do that because I don't know how to do it, but progress. And there you've got two sections, appropriate speed and undue hesitation. So appropriate speed means you have not been driving fast enough in any particular situation. It could also mean that you're not accelerating fast enough, which is something I'm going to be doing a video on because it's so much fun. Ecosafe driving. You're going to love it. Undue hesitation. Hesitation, fine. Hesitate. You come to a situation, you don't know what's going on, you're not sure on the roundabout whether that guy's actually going to wait for you when he should, you're reading the body language, hesitation's fine. Undue hesitation, you come into that same roundabout, there's no one on your right-hand side, people are emerging on your left, and you're sitting there, and that poor guy behind you, not very happy. And that's where you get false undue hesitation. That could be something you get. Okay, section 21, junctions. Okay, that's split into 5 sections, of which approach speed, observations, turning right, turning left, and cutting corners. I think it's all pretty self-explanatory. It's all there. I can go into it if you want, but approach speed, you're probably traveling too fast and scaring the hell out of anybody who's coming from the other direction on that junction. So don't do it. Observations at junctions. Highlight this. I may circle this. We should probably talk about this. This is something that maybe even a lot of experienced drivers do. They come to junctions. They've been driving for a very, very long time, and they do a quick look, and it's safe, and they get on with it. And people take risks, and this is where accidents happen. Did you know where 77% of all accidents occur? You guessed it, it's at junctions. So if you're not doing your observations properly, and even if there is nobody there, you could get a serious fault for that. Be careful. Certainly don't do it on tests. Don't do it in real life. Stay alive. Live a long and healthy, fruitful life. The world needs you. Junctions. Section 22, judgment. There's judgment on overtaking, meeting, and crossing. Now, I guarantee I could probably get all your numbers and call you all up and ask you, do you want to be overtaking anybody on your driving test? Well, most of you probably, and I could probably be guilty of this as well, don't encourage people to overtake. But you know what? There are times when you must, and if you don't, it's a problem. If you're driving on a dual carriageway and the car in front of you is doing like 25, 30 miles an hour and it's a 40, 50 mile an hour speed limit, the examiner's going to be scratching their little bald head, because it could be me. No, it won't be me because I'm not a driving examiner. But they could be scratching their head wondering why you haven't overtaken yet. However, if you misjudge it, this is where you get a fault, okay? Or a bus is at a bus stop, you got to go around it. Meeting situations and crossing. Meeting is when the two cars are coming together and it's tight roads, and one of you is going to have to pull in to the right or the left and get past each other and communicate and wave and do all that stuff, all right? Occasionally they flash their lights, and we have to interpret what that means, because officially we all know what it really means, don't we? Anyway, moving on. Crossing traffic. This is another one where people make a mistake. Okay, judgment in crossing traffic. If you interfere with anybody, if you're turning left or you're turning right, you emerge from a junction and you get it wrong and you make them slow down, even if it's just for a little bit, you're in trouble. That could be test over. Section 22. Section 23 is positioning. Positioning for normal driving and positioning for lane discipline. These two things also can go hand in hand. So positioning, obviously, if you're on a single carriageway and it's just one lane and there's another lane coming towards you and you're positioned too far to the left or to the right, I guess you could get a normal driving position fault, especially if you're too far to the right the whole time for no reason, unless, of course, you're trying to make sure you haven't got any of these sort of clearance to obstruction problems. But But yes, this is where you will be marked for this. Normal driving position could also be you're driving on a dual carriageway and you're sitting in the middle lane, you naughty person, you. Or the right-hand lane for way too long and the left lane is completely clear and the examiner hasn't given you any instruction to make you think that you're going to be turning right. Gotta move back to the left. Just do it. Just do it. You don't need to be there. Middle lane, right lane, get to the left. It's totally fine. Okay, but obviously work with your instructor on that because judgment is also involved. Lane discipline. Well, if you can't stay in your lane, you're going to be in big trouble. Okay, you got to make sure you stay in your lane. This could also be connected to roundabouts. Maybe you're straight lining them, which, hey, if I was in, I don't know, some sort of movie where I was required to get away from somebody and I wanted to straight line the roundabout because I thought it was really cool, then I could possibly do that. But on your driving test, unfortunately, when it comes to the DVSA, you're not allowed to do that. You've got to be following your lane through. And I'm happy. Oh, in fact, I think in my commentary drive video, you can see me do that. Go check it out. Section 24, pedestrian crossings. The rules on pedestrian crossings are quite clear. They're all in the highway code or driving the essential skills. This book right here. If you haven't got one, you should do. Everything your driving instructor tells you comes from this book. I'd have one if I was you. Get one. Pretty useful. But pedestrian crossings, the rules on pedestrian crossings, I'm not going to, if you make a fault, that's where it's going to be. And then you've got position, section 25, which will be positioning for normal stops. Pulling up on the left-hand side of the road. I guess it could also be pulling up on the right, but that's not necessarily normal, is it? Because is it recommended that we should be pulling up on the right-hand side? That's a question for another day, but I could answer it if you want. I'll leave that. I'll leave that for now. You could use that in another video. So positioning for normal stops, do you know where you're allowed to do it? Whether it's like blocking driveways or double yellow lines or zigzags or whatever, like just block a junction. Can you do it? Are you allowed to do it? Well, you need to know. If you get it wrong, that's where you're going to get a fault. Section 26 is awareness and planning. This is you little beauties. When you know what it is that you need to do, you've got beautiful control of your car and you know all the rules, but planning is still letting you down. You've got to look ahead. You've got to plan. You've got to read the road. Again, every commentary drive video that I've ever done, in fact, any video where I'm talking in a video, that's me using my awareness and planning. Go out, watch those videos, practice awareness and planning. Section 27 is ancillary controls. I really hope I pronounced that properly. Ancillary controls. Ancillary controls, I think those are the extra controls in your car. So like your little knobs and buttons and things you want to twist and turn. It could be your windscreen wipers that maybe you need them or something happens and like, did you know how to do it? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think that this is where one of the show me, tell me questions goes down, like ancillary. It would make sense if it did, but I think this is, I don't think it goes there. You know what? Let me know in the comments below. Any instructors out there, if you know for sure that is where they put that fault, then you tell me because I want to know. I want to learn. 28 through 32, it says spare. That's because they don't mean anything. So let's leave that and move on, okay? Section 33 says wheelchair. Just wait 1 second. Okay, I have absolutely no idea what that means or why it's there, so I'm just going to move on. I don't care. Whatever. Okay, so moving on. Underneath that, you're going to have pass, fail, or none. I don't know why it says none. Maybe you turn up and they're just like, they take one look at you and they're like, this person should not be here. Hopefully not. Pass or fail, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Next to that little box, it's going to say number of faults or total faults and the route number. Well, the route number is just the route that the examiners decided to take on that test. Let's leave that. Then we've got lots of admin, not really important. And then a lovely little thing which says ecosafe driving, and it's got control and planning on that one. If you get a fault in ecosafe driving, it does not affect your actual overall score of how many faults you get. They just like to tell you whether you can drive ecosafe, which I'm going to do a video on. Look out for it. It's really great. Some other little boxes, not really that important. And then right at the bottom there, it says, there has been no change to my health. See notes 29 over leaf. Don't know why I read that out, but ultimately you need to sign here to say that there's been no change to your health whatsoever and that you're absolutely fine to drive. and that is the driving test report. Now, along with the driving test report, I don't actually have one of the original copies. I do actually in my car, but I don't have one here. There is obviously guidance as well on the back, and it tells you exactly what each fault means and so forth. Okay, so if you want any more information, if this really wasn't enough, if you haven't lost all this time, if you haven't turned grey or bald since the beginning of this video, then you clearly didn't watch it until the end. That's it, guys. So that is the driving test report. So if you've got any value out of this video, and I think you're probably going to hear me say it, and I trust me, I could really seriously do with it, hit that like button, subscribe. There'll be more videos coming out, and then I'll let you know what's going on from there. All right. All the best, YouTube world. See you in the next one. I want you to bring the car to an immediate